Hello and a heartily welcome to this new video. Our topic today is happiness and nutrition. And yeah, I really like this idea that happiness has something to do with nutrition. Or most people don't think that way, but yeah, there's an underlying cause why we actually use food for our happiness. And I like to go through that with you. So I'm glad that you're here. My name is Dominika Hanschk. Let's get started. Happiness in nutrition or happiness in food. How does that relate to each other? I'm sure you know this kind of situation. You're doing something with your best friend, i.e. you're going shopping or something like that. You're having a really great time, you're communicating with each other, you're really talking a lot of things through, everything is lovely, everything is nice, the sun is shining and so on, and then something happens. And you don't really know what's going on, but now from one moment to the other, you are angry with each other, you can't relate to each other, you have a completely different opinion and you're arguing and you're just kind of like, I can't talk to you right now. You come home and your first way is to the fridge or to the freezer to actually get a big portion of ice cream because that's something you need now to relax. Can you relate to that? Yeah, why is that? Food actually makes us happy. But why? Well, the relationship that we have to food, or the reason why we are happy when we are having food, actually goes way back to our childhood. So when we were young, when we were a baby, basically we couldn't help ourselves. So what did we do? When it was too cold or too warm, too hot, too wet, yeah. So for example, when we needed changing of the diapers, what would we do? We would start crying and our mom would come and she would comfort us, she would soothe our pain and she would look after us and most of the times she would provide food. So we have this learned interaction. When I'm unhappy, I'm crying, and then I get food. And the question is now whether this learned habit is something that's still really important to us today, or maybe with our 20-something, 30-something or more, we have actually realized that using food for comfort isn't the right idea to deal with this kind of situation. That's really the thing. Do we want to react in this way? Most of us have some kind of emotional relationship to food, yeah, and that's basically the reason. And the question is, have you learned in the years to actually not just use food as emotional comfort, but to actually look at the underlying root cause of your discomfort and why you're not feeling that well, or why you're angry, or why you're frustrated? And therefore you have other coping mechanisms rather than having food. Okay? Another situation. It's Friday afternoon. You're looking forward to a nice weekend trip with your partner, or you've planned going out with friends. You want to really enjoy yourself and you only have 1 hour to go. Now your boss arrives and says, oh, you need to finish that before you go because it's really important. We have this urgent deadline and I count on you. You have to do this. You can't go now. This needs to be done. And yeah, your happiness plummets. You're really annoyed because you were already looking forward to your really lovely weekend and now you have to finish this work off. How frustrating is that? So what do? Your first thing is you go in your drawer, grab your chocolate bar and soothe your longings for happiness and just calm down again to get to work, get it finished and get out of there. So yeah, we're using food to comfort us. And the thing is, you can decide whether using food as a comfort is something that is really helpful for you now that you're older. I have tried basically using different methods to actually get away from this emotional eating habit because it doesn't help us in the long run, does it? Usually, having this emotional baggage actually leads to overeating, and then we have weight problems, or we don't move enough because I'm not in the mood, I rather eat something than move, and that doesn't really help us, right? So how can you possibly find another way of dealing with that? Well, there are different methods that you could use. I can give you an example of how I dealt with parts of that, and I had a really funny experience with that. So for example, I use tapping, and tapping, the EFT method and the emotional freedom technique is really interesting. You use basically specific points on the meridians to tap, and that actually puts you in a position where you're relaxed enough to change your way of thinking about the situations, to reframe the situation, to understand that yes, it was a useful mechanism in the past, but it doesn't need to be in the future. And then you can reframe the whole situation, and that helps you that you understand there are certain situations that I've experienced in the past and where I reacted emotionally in a certain way, but I don't have to react in that way anymore. I can choose a different way now. Okay? And you can think about that way, and you can use tapping to actually say, this is the way I want to deal with it in the future. And the funny thing was, I actually did this. I remember this session like it was yesterday because it was so remarkable. I had this chocolate bar from Kinder in front of me, and I could smell it, and I was like, oh, I want to taste it. I really want to have this. And then I was using this technique, tapping on it. And the funny thing was that in the end, I didn't want to eat it. I actually put it back in the fridge, and it was sitting there for almost 2 weeks. And I was thinking like, oh, hang on. You've never had that a chocolate bar is actually sitting in the fridge for 2 weeks, because this kind of chocolate bar, you love it. You have so many lovely memories of eating this chocolate bar or getting this chocolate bar as a child that you can't resist. Well, never mind. You're just going to have it anyway now, because our teacher explained to us that we actually would taste it differently afterwards, because it would taste just the way it really tastes. And the taste changes when you have emotional connections to things. And the funny thing was, I tried this chocolate bar, and I had to stop. I couldn't eat it because it was so sugary, so sweet, that it just tasted, for me, because I'm not having a lot of sugar, it was just so annoying. I couldn't finish it because it was just so sweet, and I tasted the real taste, and it was just like, no way I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna finish this, because it's horrible. It was just too sweet. And that's the funny thing. But that may not be your kind of way dealing with this emotional eating habit. You could also try to figure out a different way. So for example, one way, which I like to use nowadays more often, is to actually think about it in this way. You have a certain situation that triggers you to eat. And the thing is, eating is not going to solve the problem. Eating is just going to make you happy for a moment. And you can't change the habit overnight, because let's say you're 30-something and you've used this method, this habit for 30 years, maybe sometimes even daily. Yeah. So your body has a lot of experience, your mind has a lot of experience that I'm troubled, I'm eating, that helps. Yeah. So changing a habit, you can't change it from scratch, saying, oh, I don't want to eat chocolate anymore, I do this. It's easier to change a habit with a new habit. So for example, if you're feeling unhappy and because of some emotional turmoil in your life, you could actually choose, instead of eating that chocolate bar, I have a handful of nuts, or I'm drinking a glass of water. Okay? So all you need to do is you change one habit with another habit. But because this habit is more healthy, it actually helps you with your long-term goals. So for example, if weight loss is one of your long-term goals, obviously having that glass of water is a much better habit than having that chocolate bar. And the funny thing is, while you are changing that habit, you actually start thinking about it. Okay, I have this emotional baggage, therefore I want to eat, but now I'm drinking water. And actually, what is the underlying root cause? Why I'm emotionally upset right now? What do I actually need? Maybe I need a hug from somebody. Maybe I just need to talk to somebody. Maybe I just need to write it down, write it in my journal, what I'm thinking about, why is that upsetting me? And there may be lots of different things that can happen then, and that's the way you can change this automatic reaction. Choose this one habit that you don't want to do any longer, replace it with a new one, and that's a lot easier because you're just putting something else instead of that already established routine. And therefore, your mind, your body accepts it more easily because the routine has changed slightly. That doesn't matter, right? So it's a lot easier to change your routine than actually trying to establish a new routine. Yeah, you probably know that if you're saying, oh, I'm eating healthy now, and it's not that easy, right? But if you are actually having certain reactions and certain patterns, what you're doing, and you're just saying, oh, I'm having every day an apple in the morning with my breakfast. It's something where you have a routine and you just add something to it, or you get something small out of it, and it's just a slight change in the routine. But if you're changing maybe once per month, if you're changing that routine slightly, in the end, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so yeah, of course, happiness has something to do with nutrition, and you can use that. Yes. So, for example, if you're looking forward to a great barbecue with your friends, the social interactions, the contact, the fun, the hugs, the games you're playing, or whatever, yeah. That's great. And why shouldn't there be food with it? There's no reason not to have food. Or if you're going out for a coffee break with your best friend to just exchange news, what's happened in the last week, that's a great thing. And yes, of course, combine that with food. That's okay. But try to see why you're having food. Yeah. If it's just because you're meeting a friend, you're having fun together, and well, you're supposed to eat now anyway because you're meeting for dinner, hey, that's a cool thing to do. Absolutely. I agree, food and happiness have a lot in common. But if it's for emotional reasons, because you need the food to actually soothe yourself down, to calm yourself down and to relax, then maybe you should replace that with a more useful habit that actually also supports your long-term goal of maybe more movement, weight loss, or generally just being more relaxed, more calm, more yourself. Well, that's it for today already. I hope I could share with you some ideas that you want to try out. And yeah, next week we are talking again about happiness. This time it will be about happiness and exercising. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, see you next week. Bye bye.